Good morning, everybody. Welcome to KIMS Hospital and the final day of this meeting. What a spectacular meeting this has been so far. Congratulations, Mirek, Piotr, and all the organizing team. This first session is going to be a little shorter than what you see in the brochure. We are only going to have 2 talks. The first one, I would like to invite Dr. Sujit Sajja, who will be speaking on preclinical modeling of blast injuries with translatable outcome measures. My name is Dheeraj Gandhi. I'm from University of Maryland, and I'm joined here with Dr. Amit Sharma from Bonn Hospital.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of work we're doing with the blast injuries. So I'm going to introduce the concept of blasts, how we model in the lab, and then we'll go from how we are trying to get some outcome measures that are clinically reliable and kind of draw some parallels together. So this is my standard disclaimer. Uncle Sam, United States government, does not own or take any responsibilities for what I say. So all the statements are my own. So what is a blast? So I'm pretty sure most of you know the bomb blast, what it is. Typically, you've seen a lot of incidents happen across the world, but blast is not necessarily what we see in the movies, right? There's huge blast that happens and people are flying all over the place. That's not necessarily the case in real world. So here I want to introduce you to what actually blast is and how we try to define a blast. So when the blast happens, you see this big fireball that happens, which is pretty common. What most of the people don't recognize is there's a lot of debris and shrapnel that comes at supersonic speeds. And then majority of the people don't understand about this small thin cloud that is surrounding this fireball. That is what we call a shock wave. So if you ever see a blast go off, there is some sort of wind or gust that is going on that you don't really know where it's coming from. It's because of the disturbance of the shock that projects the debris up and then push up. You can't see it with the naked eye, just like you can't see a sound. It's similar to that because it's just faster than sound. So today's talk is going to be about this part, the invisible part of the blast that is very catastrophic, because if you're hit by shrapnel, there is injury, you can see outward injury, and if you have burns and etc., you can diagnose them with a naked eye, at least you can see it. But with shock, it's a little different. So when we think of shock, we not only think that it's just big blast, the bomb that goes off, creates these catastrophic injuries. These weapon systems, this is called Gustav, shoulder-mounted weapon systems that people use to train in military setting. This is a high-caliber gun. This is an operational environment blast that are set off. This is what we call a breaching environment. So suppose there's a situation where there are hostages, they put a charge on the door, breach them, and go inside, and then there's a mortar fire. So all of these environments creates blasts. They are source of blasts. They can potentially have an effect on the body. So today we're going to talk mostly about the small effects. So the shoulder-mounted weapon systems, 50 cal, breacher environments, things of that nature, and how we model it. So why we study this? Why it's so important? So this is all United States perspective. So you see most of the events of TBI are associated with the blast. So about 83% of them are mild. It's very hard to diagnose it because some of them very subtle, some of them are subclinical, some of them manifest over a period of time. But this is the biggest incident that happened in recent times. There was an Iranian attack on one of the air bases. So there were confirmed 110 diagnoses. And then you can see the US-Russian conflict going on has been one of the biggest nature of the injuries are from blasts. So you can see the taxonomy of the blast. When you think about the blast, most of the people tend to think it's brain injury, and they try to separate the brain injury, but blast does not happen in isolation. It's a whole body injury. So I'll kind of show you some of the data, probably make you a believer of that. And why we study. So this is a National Defense Authorization Acts that are put towards by US Congress. So when these acts comes out, they become gospels to us in government to study these, and then we have to assess, study, and report back to the government on what exactly we are accomplishing it. So essentially, this is like on a parallel level for India, it's like Ministry of Defense putting out statements saying that Defense has to study this. So something similar to that. So these are the three highlighted points: monitor, record, and analyze. And these are the acts that has been passed. Now they are public laws. So that is our motivation. But what are we going to do about it? So right now there is no set guidelines. So we don't know how much exposure is too much, especially at a lower level of blast. At certain level, you get lung injuries, you know that they are catastrophic. But at lower level, we don't know how much is too much. And most of the diagnosis is based on GCS, Glasgow Coma Score, Glasgow Coma Scale Score, which has visual, verbal, and cognitive status. So I'm going to show you these two predominantly on how we can model, get the data in the clinical setting. So what are the clinical assessments? Lung injury, we have pulmonary function tests. You can do CT to get the the status of the lungs. Here, audiogram, vision. Most of you who wear glasses know when you go to your ophthalmologist, you can actually go through the ERG test. So that's a pretty standard test. And brain injury is basically GCS score. But according to Department of Defense and Veterans Affairs, they have a little bit different way of defining it. And it has three different severities. Mainly mild is the one that is a little hard to diagnose, but submild, subclinical ones are even harder to diagnose because you don't really have a definition of diagnosis for it. So our objective is to characterize that injury in animals using repeated exposures and to identify lung, neurological, neurosensory changes. We are in the process of studying all this, but I'll concentrate this talk on this. So we use obviously spec dolly rats, and the blasts range from 4 to 20 psi. 4 to 20 psi is a really significant pressure. In the scale, its atmospheric pressure is about 14 psi. So this is above that atmospheric pressure, and this is how a blast would look like in the laboratory simulation. So there is you put the compressed air in, there is a membrane, a certain calibrated pressure, it ruptures, and sends a shock wave. This is what we call a Freelander-like wave, so it's a standard way of assessing the blast, and we did the exposures up to 30 days, one exposure per day, up to 30 days at these different levels. So what we have found, so first we don't know what to expect because there is literally no data on repeated exposures. It's all a single exposure defined mostly for the lethality. So if a lung blast happens, whether or not a person survives at 24 hours. That is the current standard. So we want to take it further and try to evaluate how that threshold looks like. So we exposed up to 14 times. We took it forward to 30 times. So what we found is at around 8.5 psi, 1% lung injury hemorrhage threshold is no longer met. So we define that as a criteria to study low-level exposures. So the polytrauma does not exist, meaning no lung injury. In this case, that's how we defined it. There are other trauma that can happen, but you don't see the significant petechial injury or the hemorrhage at that point of time. So what we found is up to 6.5 times we took the data, we modeled it, and then we found that 6.5 psi is about the limit for side exposures, and 8.5 is for frontal exposures. And one thing to also understand is blast is orientation dependent. So if you have more surface area, you get more injured. If you have less surface area, you get less injured. So in the animals, more surface area comes from the side. For humans, comes from the front. So sure, we defined it. How does it manifest as a behavior? So, I mean, rats are very resilient. If humans would go through that, they would be sick and sleeping and in bed crying potentially. But the rats, they shake it off, even at that high levels. Only when you start to do the repeated exposures, you start to see the drop in the activity. It's like a normal behavior, innate behavior of an animal. So it's pretty interesting. So based on this data, we actually took it, mathematically modeled it. So here is the hypothetical lung injury thresholds we want to achieve. So this is, we give this for a range. Let's say a person is training in the breaching range, so they have this cue card where they can look at number of exposures times the extent of the exposure, and then they can basically say, today is the limit for this many exposures. That is what we are trying to define. How we can do it is there are wearable sensors. You can put them on a soldier or a person, and then you can actually define that. So the grayed out area here is what we have defined. So this is actual data defined. So the next set of the presentation is going to be on this. So yeah, we already defined saying that 6.5 at 50 exposures for the side is the threshold. So how does the brain look like? At higher exposures, we assess some 2 weeks out. At single exposure, we see mislocalization of TDP-43. TDP-43 has been associated with a lot of neurodegenerative diseases these days. So as early as 14 days, we tend to see this mislocalization. It's no longer in the places where it's supposed to be, as you can see here in the arrows. And this is the classical marker. So for a lot of trauma, you tend to see the glial fibrillary acidic protein, which is a marker of astrocytes. We tend to see that go up as the time progresses. So initially, it could be just inflammatory, and then you have the gliosis kick in. So it's a pretty significant effect at high exposures. Remember, there are different levels of exposures. But if you actually take that forward, you don't tend to see the same changes. TDP-43, even at 14 exposures, that's 8.5 psi. Basically, in the absence of lung injury, you do not see a change in TDP-43 levels. But what we do see is something called piezo-2 change, up to 14 exposures. Piezo-2 is a mechanotransduction, meaning it senses the pressure. So the last year or the year before, the Nobel was awarded for this, identification of the piezos. So they tend to recognize if there is a pressure change, and they sense it, and they actually regulate the neuronal downstream cascades, even cell signaling to firing of the neurons because they regulate the cation channels. So we are actually perceiving this could be a potential biomarker because blast is a mechanical stimuli. So if the pressure can be sensed, then there is a change in the piezo-2 levels. So what about other classical markers of neurodegeneration? It is pretty surprising. As early as 24 hours, we saw it drop in A-beta 40 and 42 levels instead of increase. And there's a decrease in the p-tau levels. So you can see different groups has different changes. It's not consistent. Each blast is unique in its own way. So it has different signature. It's hard to model, especially the brain, because it's so dynamic and complex. But this one looks promising so far. So one other important thing is that clinically, when they did the biomarkers, we go to the field. When they train, we take the blood, we collect the biomarkers. We saw claudin and claudin-5 has changed in the clinical setting. So it was encouraging to see the parallel findings with 14 exposures at 8.5 there is a decrease in the claudin levels. Basically, we see that as a disruption of tight junction proteins. In a way, I would say pseudo way of looking at the blood-brain barrier disruption. So we think that there is ongoing blood-brain barrier disruption, and the tight junction proteins are to be affected. We saw that with the different studies as well. So more about, so that is up to 14 times exposure, 8.5 psi. Most of the exposure happens between 4, or actually 1 psi to around 6.5 psi. So we went further down, we went up to 30 exposures. This is a very busy slide. So when we actually categorically take the different regions of the brain and assess, we see different markers change different ways. So there's no consistent patterns whatsoever. So if we are looking for a magical bullet to solve the blast problem, there isn't one. There is no silver bullet. So in other words, we had to take multi-protein approach, maybe use 5 or 6 different panel markers to kind of come and see if there is an actual change in these markers. So so far we've come to understand the brain injury. We're doing a lot more studies, but as you go lower and lower, we tend to see the piezo2 and TDP43 pop up again. So the common thread here is piezo2. We see this change across a range of pressures, so we were a little bit encouraged by it, but we still need to take the multi-protein approach for this. So this is brain and the activity that I've shown. So what about neurosensory systems? These are the visual and morphological changes. So we wanted to see how eyes and the ears have got affected. So no one has ever assessed a pathology in eye in a repeated exposure setting. This is one of the kind. You see the outer segment, this is the outer segment, you see the inner segment, and there's a connection here. With shams, they're very healthy. You can see they're fat and fluffy and happy. As you can see in one exposure up to 28 days, you can see that segment starts to detach. They're no longer that healthy. But as you go higher and higher, you see the gradient increase in this detachments and the pathology develop. And then we confirm that in optic nerve. We took the section of the optic nerve, did a transmission electron microscopy. You can see very tightly myelinated cells here. As you increase the number of exposures, you start to see the myelin getting loosening, even fully degenerated axons here. It does a catastrophic injury to eyes. So that is at 6 psi. We don't see that at 4 psi. So we did all this pathology. So what? So the neurons die every day. So why do we care? So we had to show something in functional assessments, right? So we did the electroradiography, same setups that we do clinically, and then we found that there is a significant drop in this ERG levels at 6 psi for 14 exposures. So we believe 6 psi is a threshold for eye injury. So what about auditory? So these are the otoscope pictures, same clinical assessments, the same is done. You can see a nice healthy sham. There's no real fibrosis, clean tympanic membrane, so even a single PSI can disrupt. And these are taken at 28 days, so you can see the fibrosis setting in. As you go higher, there's more and more fibrosis. This is the just tympanic membrane. What about cochlea? So we took the cochlea, we did the stains assessments. You can see a healthy cochlea has 3 layers of outer hair cells and the other surrounding supporting structures. After 14 blasts, the 3 layers of the outer hair cells completely get disrupted at the base level. So there is a base, midturn, and inside. So in this case, the whole outer hair cells are disrupted, so essentially making them completely deaf. And then we did the same thing. This is a DPOA, one of the clinical assessment that you could do. And you can see that these are the baseline levels in the animals. Sham has nice hearing. But as you increase in the frequency, you can see there is a drop with the increasing in the gradient of exposures. Eventually, this leads to the increase in the threshold of the hearing. Basically, you have to speak louder, higher to even understand. So these are all the same clinical parallels that we get. So what did we understand? So blast is a whole body insult. There is 8, for lung injuries, there is 30 exposure, 8.5 limit. And then for auditory thresholds, it's about 4 psi, and for eyes, it's about 6 psi. And most importantly, you have to create a valid blast environment to actually study these. So with that, I'm going to conclude, and I want to acknowledge all my funders, and this is our team. We are a strength of 35 members in our branch. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sajja, for that. It's one wonderful talk. We have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. Yes, sir.
Any long-term studies done for these soldiers who are on the front line to see whether they are more subjected to any dementias or degenerative diseases?
There are some likelihoods. There are some epidemiology studies that has been done. There are some neurodegenerative diseases. Recently, one of our collaborators, there is an ongoing study. They even showed respiratory disorders are associated with this blast. It was previously thought once you don't get the blast injury at catastrophic level, you don't get the lung injury either. So, but now we are changing that paradigm. We have to treat the lungs too. For your question, yeah. And also we are starting to study that a little bit in preclinical setting too, to see if there is genetic vulnerability, because not everyone gets affected the same way. So we want to see if there is any comorbidities or genetic factors that are involved. And
also probably protective devices to the chest to prevent the impact coming to the chest?
Absolutely. So the funny part is right now the current standards for the protection is to prevent the debris from coming in, projectiles hitting. It's not a standard set for primary blast, which is blast exposure. So we are actually working on a program for PPE to develop next generation one that can actually protect against that too. So right now the system is not designed to protect the primary blast. That's why it's very challenging to study.
Yeah, I'm talking about the soldiers.
Yes, exactly. I'm talking about soldiers. That is the current standard. So they are not tested against, they wear them, but the blast, primary blast, the shock wave gets through the system and it still can injure. In some cases, don't quote me on it, in some cases there is research to show that PP actually it makes it worse for the primary blast.
I'm not talking about sharpness, only the waves, pressure waves.
Yeah, waves. Yeah, there is no current standard for the waves, unfortunately. Thanks.
So the instrument you have used, you showed retino or something. What was the bandwidth of the upper and lower cutoff frequencies?
So we operate around, so we can actually model it. We can model from about, I would say, 50 hertz. We can go up to...
You have not modeled?
In this case, we are around, I would say, 150, 200 hertz, because as you increase the pressure, your waveform increases too for the positive duration.
And for statistical significance, what was the p-value?
For that?
P-value.
Between the exposures or inter-exposures?
For both.
So there's obviously statistical significance between each exposure, right? But within exposure, we can get that repeatability at the same frequency every single time. That was very well... the R squared is about 0.999, something like that.
The perception of the world around us is crucial for our survival.
Right.
We perceive our environment through many channels, such as touch, taste, perception. Perception involves vision and speech. So in your visual potentials, I'm sure you did some work, but this is it's a study you have done, but practically it is not done.
So there is a lot to be done, right? So
but why so much fuss? Why so much chaos? This is in America, right? In our country, we have a 1.5 billion population, and maybe America is having a lot of money for adventures they are conducting, but we don't like in our country.
Right. So
Sorry,
yeah.
regret.
But this is about just mainly to protect the soldiers when they're getting trained.
Yeah.
Right. So the goal is when they're getting
so much money is involved.
It is, and it is also to protect the soldiers. Right now, they are not being protected.
It's a violence created by the people who are living in America, if I am correct. That is the reason you are correct. You are.
I disagree with probably that statement. I would like to agree to disagree with that. It is created by US. Actually, US is trying to protect and leading the way. So.
I think in the interest of time, we'll probably move along. Maybe we can ask the questions during the next break.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to invite Dr. Teresa Dalmau as the next speaker.
Okay, so good morning for everyone. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to give this talk. I'm very excited about it. And my title is New Advances in Modeling Stroke in Swine, and will give me the possibility to explain you what we have been doing in the lab in the last 2 or 3 years. And the question is, why swine? The thing is that for most of the lab research teams that have been working for years in animal models in small rodents, we have provided like a list of possible compounds that can be used in clinics that work very nicely in the animal model of stroke in rodents, but then fail to be delivered in the clinicals, and that is not what we want. And so it came more clear to me and to others that if we could use in the preclinical setting animal models with brains as similar as possible to the human brains, probably we will be able to solve this gap in between basic research and translation. And apart from that, I think that it's also very important to take into account that ischemic stroke is it's not only a unique entity. You see in the white areas in here that ischemic stroke can be mainly cortical, mainly striatal, depending on the artery that is occluded in the circle of Willis. And it's clear to me that if you have an occlusion that is affecting the striatum, what you will go is dopaminergic neurons in risk. And those are quite different from the neurons in risk that you will have in the cortex. So this matter, and we should take into account that. As I don't think it's a good idea to use our closest relative big non-human primates for preclinical studies, I think that pigs will do the job very well. And as you can see, the intracranial vasculature is quite similar. Oops, sorry. It's quite similar. Mm-hmm. Is quite similar, as I was telling. But in the pig, we have this anomaly in here that's called the retimilabile that we don't know exactly why is here for, but it prevents the catheters to going into the intracerebral arterial circulation and occlude the MCA. Otherwise, as you can see, the brain is quite similar of the pig, the human, and also the distribution of white matter, and clearly different from the brain of rats. anyway, so the rete has been so far a problem for modeling stroke. Most of the animal stroke models were invasive because you required a big craniectomy to reach the cerebral artery, and mostly permanent. And when minimal invasive, thrombin to induce a clot in the rete and beyond, or endothelin to induce ischemia in the parenchyma, might be difficult to control the final area of damage. So we wanted something that can be reliable. What we did was use embolization material and a pressure cooking technique to close all the left wing of the rete mirabile, and the pressure cooking technique allows the embolization material to progress and to occlude the origin of the MCA. By doing that, this is quite similar to the filament thread in the animal models of stroke in rodents. By doing that, we see that the irrigation is impaired here. We have a large infarct that encompasses both cortex and striatum. And there is damage already at 90 minutes, but it progresses more than beyond 1 day. And it's quite reproducible. You see that there are percentage of infarct. All animals are there except this one that happens to be a female. And we were quite successful in that, being able to do the procedure in 7 out of 8 pigs. I wouldn't go to the details of that because this is published now and in OPEC, but this 8 pig gives us the clue for what I explained you. So in this 8 pig, we only were able to occlude this left wing of the rete, but the embolization material did not progress. And you can see that this allows out to determine that the circulation in here progresses to the anterior communicates and arrive even in less than half a second to the contralateral middle cerebral artery. So it has that. So we can provide a model that uses this. You can see the retin here in the angio-MRA, there is no contrasting here because there is the embolization material, and is a discontinuity here that is the point of insertion of the rete mirabile into the circle of Willis. When we do several animals with this model, what we see is infarct located basically in the striatal area that is still there up to 2 weeks. This is another animal. You see different levels of the brain. You see the damage here and in here. And these are different animals in the more ventral slides. So, by doing that, we know that in this area in here, that there is still damage 1 month, it is brain obtained in 1 month after the embolization. There is damage to the capsula interna, and we can quantify that. We can do histology and see this is the contralateral and this is the ipsilateral. You see that the lubral, fast lubral indicates that there is loss of white matter in here, and also reduction in the fractional anisotropy starting 24 hours and up to 1 week. But what we thought is that we could try to do transient type. What if we only occlude, not fully, but only a part of this rete mirabile in a way that the patency is prevented all along the circle, the Willis circle, and we use a balloon catheter in here to prevent temporarily the circulation over here, and over here. And what we did and we found is that in that way you have only cortical damage, not striatal. And you can find more or less damage depending on the pressure that you put in the balloon catheter. So we have been generated with a system that is not very different, 3 different stroke models. A large cortical striatal model, a small that only affects basal ganglia and with white matter connectivity, and a transient model that affects only cortical areas. And by using one or the other, we can determine the changes in brain connectivity and how having damage in the cortex affects the striatum or the other way around. And it happens to be that our lab requires to compare blood of ischemic and hemorrhagic animals. And we first decided or wanted to do a classical hemorrhagic stroke model by using stereotaxia and inducing collagenase, putting collagenase in the proper way. But then we realized that we could have another possibility because these guys in here were able to arrive to the sinus. And we thought, because we knew for different animals that we have a very large options for the venous access to the brain. Okay, this should be like rotating, is not. But anyway, you can see here that this is the venous distribution, and you can go through here to very different areas in the brain parenchyma. So we did that.
మనది లింక్ ఉంది కదా. అట్లాంటి కొన్ని తీసేసి లాస్ట్కి ఇస్తారు అనుకుంటా. కొన్ని ఒక్కొక్క సెషన్కు ఇస్తారట. జాగ్రత్త కింద పెట్టు.
A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. Now, we have come to the end of 3 days successful of vibrant academic lectures. Now, we are just proceeding through a formal closing ceremony. Firstly, I would request Dr. Dheeraj Gandhi to come onto the stage to address Professor Gullapalli.
Thank you so much for this great honor to talk about my dear friend Rao Gullapalli. Obviously, he meant a lot to me, more than a friend. I think I would think of him as my older brother, although he thought of me as his son, probably. I first met Rao in 2011 when I was interviewing to take a position at University of Maryland. And at that time, the only sort of face of research that University of Maryland had was Rao. We had very thin staff in terms of research. I was coming from Hopkins. I was skeptical whether or not I'll be able to carry on my research and be supported. And Rao was very critical to me in making that decision and the jump to come to Hopkins. And he presented to me a vision of where University of Maryland is going to be in 10 years. And I would be lying if he didn't not only meet but so much supersede my expectations as to where he would bring University of Maryland over the next 10, 15 years. He was a chemical engineer by profession and training. Did his training in Osmania University in chemical engineering, then went to IIT Kharagpur, then moved to US. He did his master's in University of Arkansas, and then MBA in Case Western University. So not only was he very well versed as a scientist, but had a brilliant business mind as well. And more importantly, he was truly an entrepreneur, and he could find a solution out of every problem. And he truly believed that every downturn is an opportunity, and he truly believed in the concept of anti-fragility. I don't know if you are familiar with this concept of anti-fragility. The difference is that there are fragile things that, when faced with a difficulty or a fall, they just break down. On the other hand, there are certain individuals or situations where, when you get into a difficult problem, you actually come out stronger. And that's what Rao always taught me and my colleagues. He was truly an outstanding man, brilliant researcher, innovator, leader. But more importantly, he was a friend to everybody that he met. Everybody in his lab, his assistant, his clerk. I never have met a single person that doesn't call him by his name. Everybody called him Rao, whether it was a clerk or his assistant or anybody else. A janitor would even address him by Rao. That's how outstanding this gentleman was, despite his accomplishments over the years, which many of us can just even simply aspire to come even close. He lived a life full of virtues. Chief amongst them were courage, honesty, honor, friendship, and unfaltering devotion to any goal that he ever pursued. Rao had a storied career. He won millions and millions of dollars in NIH grants over his career. In fact, there weren't any grants that he didn't touch that didn't get funded. Not only he got a lot of grants himself, he helped a number of people like me. My first NIH grant, he was critical in pushing me to to get that grant, and I would have never gotten it had it not been for him. He wrote hundreds of high-impact publications, had 12 patents to his name as well. And one of the things that he did for University of Maryland, which is something out of the storybooks, when I joined University of Maryland with him, University of Maryland was number 40 in terms of NIH ranking. And that's a very important metric for academic institutions in America. It's called the Blue Ridge Report. And before he passed away, University of Maryland had become number 13 in the United States. It's just a huge honor. I don't think that there's going to be very many institutions or universities that can even come close or match this feat, which is just incredible. We rose from an annual funding of $800,000 to $15 million annually by the time he had passed. And then, a couple other things I want to talk about him is that he always, despite being very busy, he always found time for people like me or my friends or anybody else at work to enhance our careers, to give his cooperation. Without any expectation, he wrote budgets for us for grants, and he reviewed our papers, never expecting that he would be a co-author, even on many of the projects where he meaningfully contributed, or at least he never asked for it. He taught me that you always have to follow the signal and tune out the noise. For young people, as you come into your careers, you're going to get into situations and politics and so on and so forth. Just always remember to follow your goal and just tune out the signal. Everything else fixes itself over a period of time. His emotional intelligence was through the charts. He never got angry at anybody. He never carried malice towards one person. I never heard him say a bad thing about any single individual in the years that I know, and that's something which is very, very unique quality that Rao had. And one of the greatest lessons that he taught me about leadership, and I don't think that I can ever, describe, what I felt, during this time. On 9th of April, a week before he passed, I had visited his home with his wife, and his wife was there as well. At this time, he was having a troubled time with excruciating pain, and he had to take painkillers to suppress this pain. But then he took me aside because these painkillers were interfering with his ability to write grants. And at the back of his mind, he always worried about the tremendous amount of staff that he had that were dependent on his grants. He took me to the side and said, "Do you think I can come off of these medications so that I can focus on my grants?" And I was like, "No, Rao, you need to just make sure that you're comfortable first." But I couldn't say very much. But as I was back in my car with my wife, I began to cry inconsolably at what he had just told me, because he always just thought of everybody else above him, as we were driving back, I wondered if ever I'm going to meet a leader so selfless that that has this thought process. So that's Rao for you. When I think about Rao, I think about a quote from Lao Tzu, and that quote is that a leader is best when people barely know that he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say that they did it themselves. That's the true quality of a leader that makes you think that you did it yourself, even though he was helping you all along. Rao perfectly embodied this code and lived his life by it. He may have left us, but his legacy and enduring spirit will live on. What better way to honor his life than have this event in Hyderabad, his favorite city. I can't tell you how many times he told me, Dheeraj, you have to come with me, and he was going to take me to all these places for biryani, and so it's so sad for a lot of us that he can't be here himself, and but I'm glad because of him I got to visit this beautiful city. To his family, I would like to say that we are so thankful that you shared this gift with a lot of us, and for that we are very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful introduction. Now we know how outstanding person he is. Some of us in this hall might not know him, and now we know who he is. And through Dr. Dheeraj's words, still he's inspiring us today. Thank you, sir. Now I would request Dr. Peter, please come onto the stage for a word.
Hello, everyone. I will just take a few minutes to give you a little bit of the context. I'll tell you about the award that we decided to establish before young scientists who successfully competed for this award will be presented with it. So our society for image-guided neurointerventions, was established a few years ago, and Rao was intimately involved in these activities for many years. And our mission is to bring our goals of the society and around the world, having the meetings in different continents. So after a conference was held in Europe, in the United States, we were interested in coming to Asia. And Rao was a strong advocate to bringing it to India, and specifically bringing it to his home, Hyderabad. So for the maybe starting 1.5 years ago, we were working hard together, having Zoom calls every second week or so. And these meetings continued till at least 1 month before his death. So he was, despite his health issues, he did not give up. He wanted to bring all of us to this city. And when he passed, we thought that this is definitely something that we need to honor him. We need to spread his legacy, and the obvious idea was to establish this award for young investigators. He was very passionate about training young scientists. He was an outstanding mentor. So this will be the first year Gulapali Young Investigator Awards will be given to talented young people, and this tradition will continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Piotr, for such a wonderful words. Now I would request on behalf of Dr. Gulapalli's family, Sri Charan Garu, who is the Managing Director, Tenest Diagnostics, please come and address the gatherings.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's with a heavy heart that we gather today to remember and honor the life of Dr. Rao Gulapalli, a brilliant mind, dedicated scientist, and a compassionate soul. Dr. Gulapalli leaves behind a legacy that has touched countless lives. Dr. Rao's mother, sister, and many of our family members are here to cherish his impeccable achievements in the field of medicine. His contribution to the field of medicine were not only significant but also transformative. Dr. Gulapalli's commitment to advancing healthcare, particularly in the field of diagnostics, radiology, and nuclear medicine, has left an indelible mark. His innovative spirit and tireless efforts have paved the way for improved diagnostics and patient care. Beyond his professional achievements, Dr. Gulapalli was known for his kindness and generosity. He approached each person with empathy, making a lasting impact on those he collaborated with. His legacy extends beyond the walls of the institution, reaching into the hearts of people he touched. As we mourn the loss of a remarkable individual, let us also celebrate the extraordinary life that he lived. His legacy will continue to inspire future generations of healthcare professionals, reminding us all of the profound difference one person can make in the lives of others. Dr. Abbas Albi sponsored $6,000 for 6 Gulapalli Awards to be given to young doctors. We thank him on behalf of the Gulapalli family for his gracious contribution. On behalf of Tenet Diagnostics, I would like to thank the organizing committee and the entire KIMS team, in particular Dr. Manas sir and Dr. Sambit sir, and I'm very grateful for the University of Maryland, which is very close to Dr. Gulapalli's heart. We at Tenet are happy to associate with any research project with Sign now or in the near future to continue Dr. Gulapalli's legacy. I also would like to thank all the sponsors who have come forward to make this event happen. May his soul rest in peace, and may his contribution to medicine be a beacon of inspiration for the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Charan Garu, for your words. Now, I'm so pleased and delighted to welcome Bhaskar Rao sir onto the stage, who is the Managing Director and Chairman of KIMS Group of Hospitals. Bhaskar Rao sir, he is a reputed cardiothoracic surgeon. He pursued his dream of providing affordable and accessible quality health care and established KIMS Hospital in 2004. That had made a rapid stride in short time, and KIMS has now 13 branches in 3 states with 4,000 plus beds with 40 different specialties by a distinguished professionals. Sir is a vowed educationalist and keen to promote a quality education, and he started medical schools. And Sir is also a quiet philanthropist, extending help to many worthy causes. With this brief note, I would request Bhaskar Rao sir to come onto the stage. I would also request Suresh sir to come onto the stage. I would also request Srimati Rukma Bai Garu, mother of Dr. Gulapalli, to come onto the stage. Now we are heading to the award distribution. I request Dr. Manas sir to come onto the stage and read out the winners. I would request Bhaskar Rao sir to please address the gathering with your few words.
Good evening, all of you. Before we go on to the topic, we'll talk about Dr. Gulapalli Rao was a man of multiple distinguished accomplishments, and to recollect and recount the positions he held, the honors and awards he achieved, the books he reviewed, his long teaching career, and the number of students he directed, his publications and his patents and copyrights. It will take a full day to do all these things. He was a genius of highest order and a contributor to science and research, academics and administration in an unparalleled way. Let us remember this great colossus who left us, but this contribution is indelible. Today's awards are being presented to his name and honor. Let us salute this great scientist and visionary with the respect, love, and affection. For his thing, can we be able to stand for a minute and silence so that Thank you. Dear distinguished participants of this fourth SIGN conference, we consider it as a proud privilege to host this SIGN conference with participation from eminent international experts in neurosciences and other facilities and faculties like information technology, engineering, physics, and chemistry. This prestigious event had aroused a lot of public interest and received wide media coverage. Your quest for knowledge and thirst to share, debate, discuss, and deliberate has brought you here from various corners of the world. I am sure the mutual insights and collective wisdom will lead to path-breaking results and developments in neurosciences. The fourth SIGN conference is being held in India for the first time, and my compliments to my colleague, Dr. Manas Panigrahi, Sambit, and Mr. Suresh of Tenant, and others for organizing such a mammoth event that has potential revolutionize the procedures in neurosciences in the future. I am a heart surgeon and an entrepreneur, and I cannot dwell into this highly specialized subject, but academics and research are very close to my heart, and we at KIMS do everything to promote the same. Let me once again commend and congratulate each of you for your enthusiasm and efforts, and I wish the convention all success. I hope you explore this beautiful and historic city of Hyderabad and go home with the fond memories after the event. We at all the time in KIMS, we are keen to develop in the new innovative things and research. That's why we established the KIMS Foundation and Research Center under now the chairmanship of Mr. Bhujangarao, who is also a scientist and retired from the DRDO. So it's very keen interest, and we have a lot of patients and as well as the good consultants who wants to develop. And for all these consultants, what we need for the medical people, some of the technological and as well as the engineering people who can able to give some suggestions to build. Ultimately, it will help to the patients. So you are most welcome at any time, and we want to take it forward. And maybe if necessary, we can able to conduct every year a conference, and so that how we can able to develop new innovations and inventions which can definitely help the patient's quality of life and care for them at an affordable cost. Our main aim of KIMS is always we fond of quality, affordable, accessible care that we want to provide to our patients. On this day, we also able to create one award. We also a lot of awards for our students on Mr. Gollapalli Rao, Purnachandra Rao's award. We will be able to do in the neurosciences for the DNB students who have been coming out with the new research activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful words and your time. Now I would request Dr. Manas also come onto the stage and announce the winners.
Good afternoon. Though means we wanted to give award to everybody who presented because all of them presented well, but then we have limited resources, so we had to select few people. But then we had two stage of planning. It was not easy for people to come to the award. We first abstracts, and then we had evaluators, one from Europe, one from US, and one from Asia. And then we selected the awards, and many of them were so good that we told them, you come as an invited speaker. And but then many refused. They still preferred to be in the award category, but some people accepted the invited category, so it made our life easier. And but then many, in the last minute, we saw that many youngsters were there in the free paper category who did not apply for award, but they were good. And so we found some fund from our society, Brain and Spine Society. Though it's not a big amount, but it's a token of appreciation for the free paper award. People from the free paper presenters to give some awards to them also. I'll call first the Gulapalli Award winners. It's not according to the first or second, it's just according to the presentation they have made. So it's we have decided for 9 awards, but then we had tie up for 2 per person. So we are giving for 10 because the marks they had similar marks. So we'll be giving 10 awards. So the last 2 will get the award money will be divided between 2. All others will get $1,000. 8 people will get $1,000 each, and 2 persons $500 each. And so the first is Dr. Preeti Y. And Dr. Preeti is from Department of Radiology, KIMS Hospital. And yes. Yeah. No, they'll give again. The second winner is Dr. Angelika. And she is from Poland, no? You're from Poland. Yeah, so thank you. I'll call Professor Krishna Reddy also to come out to diet to be there for the next award. And the next award goes to Dr. Sriya Madan. Sriya, and she's from Maryland. She's from Baltimore, Maryland University. I request Professor Sastry to come out with the dais for the next award. And the next awardee is, I may spell it wrongly, it's Jingu Wang. Is it correct? Yeah. I'll request Professor Call to come out to the dais. And the next award goes to Dr. Mikola Walzak. I'll request Dr. Piotr to come out to the dais for the next award. Dr. Piotr, please come out to give the next award. And the next award goes to Dr. Lukas Kalkoski. Dr. Lukas. Please come. I request Dr. Mirek to come out to the dais, and the next award goes to Dr. Colin Russell. I request Dr. Sampit to come for the next. And the next award goes to Dr. Novak. Dr. Novak. Okay. The next award is shared by two people. Dr. Ajay Bhandari, he is an engineer. He is an assistant professor in IIT Dhanbad. So he got it because I also studied in IIT Dhanbad for 3 months. It's a joke. And this award is shared by Dr. Mikolas Jarek. Yeah. So they'll receive the award together. We don't have a board of 500. Then we have awards for the free paper or the rapid fire awards. The first award goes to Dr. Lucid Padilla. And the next awardee is Dr. Syed Bibi. She's from KIMS Hospital, scientist. She works in KIMS Research Foundation. I'll request Professor Bhujang Rao to come out to the dais, please. The next awardee is Dr. Amma Dragon. Anna Dragon. And the last award for today is Dr. Nirav Patel. He is assistant professor at IIT Chennai. No, before we conclude, we'll request if anyone is interested to at least tell their experience of the past 3 days, both the positive and the negative points, and how the SIGN meeting, which is the next one at Basel, how it can be better. And I request anyone can come, and you have to tell one positive and one negative. Anyone is volunteering, or we'll go with felicitation ceremony? Okay, we'll finish the felicitation first.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Bhaskar Rao, sir, and thank you, Suresh, sir, for being part of this award distribution function. Felicitation. I'm calling the directive. Yes, sir. Directive. Sorry. Thank you, sir. This 3 days, the event was really successful and everybody enjoyed, and we all have gathered with the new experiences and new learnings. And we ultimately fail if we don't mention the international faculty who have driven this entire, the theme of the story to stand here today. So now we are just heading on to the ceremony of felicitation. I'm absolutely delighted and pleased to invite Mr. Miroslav Janowski. Please come onto the stage, sir. He's from University of Maryland, Baltimore, United States. I would request Dr. Mana sir and Dr. Sambit sir, please come onto the stage to felicitate him. Please come. Thank you, sir. Now I would request.
Okay, so thank you very much. That's my big surprise for me, this learning new tradition. And I would like to really thank all local organizing committee that this conference, to kind of my standard, was really exceeding what I really expected or I really even imagined. So that was really great organization, and thank you very much. So even from our discussions, Zoom discussions, which was not kind of easy, having a different time zones, etc., I didn't know what will be here, and what I found here was like, wow. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, sir. Next, I would call upon Dr. Michael Jawarski from Central University of Ministry of Interior, Warsaw, Poland. Sir, please come on to the stage. I would request Dr. Subhash Kaul, sir, Dr. Shastri, sir, please come on to the stage to felicitate him.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great surprise for me, but thank you very much. I think that I had this honor because with Piotr and Mirek, we set up this society a few years ago, and I'm very happy to see that where it went, that we went so far and we ended up so good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I would request Professor Piotr Waljak to come onto the stage. I request Dr. Anantaram sir and Dr. Krishna Reddy sir come onto the stage to felicitate him. Thank you, sirs.
Thank you very much. It was a great honor.
Thank you, sir. Now I would call upon Dr. Dheeraj Gandhi, sir, to come onto the stage to receive our felicitation. I would request Professor Bhujanga Rao, sir, and Dr. Bhaskar Rao, sir, to come onto the stage to felicitate. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Congratulations again.
Thank you, everyone. Now I would call upon Dr. Sambit sir to address the gathering and so mention the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, all. I was feeling so cold. When I saw the shawls, I said, I would have loved to have one. So, anyhow, all good things come to an end. And what started as a Zoom call in November 2022, and we are here now. And we had our hits and misses, ups and downs. It was sometimes a roller coaster. Specifically, we missed a heartbeat when we came to know that on the dates when sign was to be organized and all the hotel rooms in Hyderabad were blocked for some other congress, and and then we had to, on an emergency basis, shift the venue to Ramoji Film City. And I think it was a blessing in disguise. I'm sure all of you enjoyed the venue. So I would first like to thank Ramoji Film City for that. And I remember one of the presenters, the topic was psychedelic drugs in in brain disorders. And I could draw a parallel in the beautiful slide the doctor had given. I can't remember her name. Yeah, but there she is. And at the evening, when you take a stroll in Ramoji, the color combination was something like that. So it was the psychedelic effect of Ramoji Film City. Don't you all agree with me? It was something like that. So also, we skipped again some heartbeats when none of you got your visas. And we never knew how many were able to turn. And that's when Mr. Suresh Garu helped us to tide over it. He individually called up everyone, and somehow we could get the visas on time. I remember Dr. Sujit telling me that when he went to the visa office, collected his visa, and then went straight to the airport. So, and also Tenet has helped us in organizing this wonderful Congress. So thank you, Tenet and Suresh Garu, for all this. We had a long association with Dr. Mirak and Piotr, endless calls, though they appeared very chill, but the meticulous and focused work that they did needs appreciation, and I thank him for spending hours and hours with us just to plan and execute it to perfection. Thank you, Sain, and thank you, Dr. Mirak and Piotr. I would also appreciate the speakers who had come and who presented the good work, and which has given us opportunity to collaborate in future and find out the synergies, take it forward. And needs a special mention of Dr. Tim Magnus, Dr. Jarek and Sujit, and Dr. Dheeraj, who have actually shown interest to work with us in the future. And I have told them that they have to reply when a mail goes out to them through KFRC. I hope you honor your thing, and thank you, all of you. I mean, thanks for that. And a special mention to, and it enthused me and also encouraged all of us that we had a good participation from the Indian young scientists, and it gives us hope that, and gives us hope that we can also leverage each other's potential because we stay nearby. And very soon we are going to collect the database of all the young entrepreneurs, young researchers of India from all the various academic institutes. And few of them have promised me that they will be giving me the database of all the young researchers who are working in the field of healthcare. And we will be doing, through KFRC, one Congress this year, taking all of you together and taking it forward. So you can expect a mail from us also. And I thank you for your participation. And I thank the event manager, Kiran from We Do conference, and we had a memento and a felicitation for him also. Yeah, please come.
At least all foreign delegates remember Kiran than us because they have communicated with him more.
Yeah, please. Sir.
Hospital.
I was asking him, whom all am I missing now? So, and also I would thank all the support staff of KIMS who actually came at the beck of a call to all our demands and could stand the foul mood that sometimes I'm in. And have patiently worked with me. So all the stuff from branding, F&B, housekeeping, my team, other departments, all of you, thank you all. And also the media who actually supported us a lot, the sponsors who were very forthcoming, and though they didn't have any immediate benefit out of this conference, but they understood what it would bring to them in the future by collaborating with us, and they have helped us a lot, and I really want to thank the sponsors of this Congress. And lastly, I would like to thank my boss, my mentor, Dr. Bhaskar Rao, who has entrusted this responsibility to me, and I hope I've done justice to it. Thank you once again, all of you. Thank you, and let's terminate this program. Now, if anyone wants, if people interested to go for a hospital tour, we can take them. National. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Now we are at the end of the conference. I would request everybody to be standing for national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
I request everybody to remain standing. We would like to have a group photograph. Yeah. So I request everybody to just assemble in the center seats. Sir?